So, what does a DBA actually do? You hear the title thrown around, but a lot of people don't really get what it means. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on these, well, silent guardians of our digital world. Let's dive in.
All right, let me set the scene for you. It's 2 a.m. Your favorite app, the one your whole company depends on, just dies. It's down. Every single minute this thing is offline, you're losing money, maybe thousands of dollars. So who gets that frantic, panicked call in the middle of the night? 9 times out of 10, yep, it's the DBA.
And why them? Because behind every single app you use, every website you visit, every online purchase you make, there's just a mind-boggling amount of data. And you know, that data doesn't just manage itself, it's not magic. Someone, a real person, has to protect it, organize it, and, most importantly, make sure it's there when you need it. And that someone? That's the database administrator.
Okay, so let's properly introduce these folks. The best way to think about them is as the guardians of what is probably your company's most valuable asset, its data.
So what's the textbook definition? Well, it's something like this. The information technician responsible for ensuring the ongoing operational functionality and efficiency of an organization's databases. You know, all that jargon really just boils down to one thing. They make sure the data is working, it's working fast, and it is working all the time, period.
I love this quote because it just reframes the whole role. It's not just about wires and code. It's about being the guardian of the data as a corporate asset. Think about that for a second. A company has physical assets, right? Like buildings and money in the bank. Well, its data is just as valuable, if not more so. And the DBA, they're the ones assigned to protect it.
But here's the thing. Protecting this stuff, it's not just one job. It's really a constant balancing act. A DBA has to live with 2 completely different mindsets. And honestly, sometimes those mindsets are in direct conflict with each other.
And this really gets to the heart of it. What is a DBA? Are they a firefighter or are they an architect? The answer is yes. A good DBA has to be both.
Okay, so let's break these 2 modes down. On one hand, you've got the reactive firefighter. This is what most people picture, right? The person who swoops in when everything's broken, responding to problems after they've already happened, always focused on putting out the biggest, scariest fire. But the best DBAs, the really great ones, try to spend most of their time as a proactive architect. They're all about implementing practices to avoid the fires in the first place. They're following a blueprint, building for the long haul, not just patching up today's disaster.
And this right here, this shows you exactly what that architect role looks like in practice. See, a proactive DBA isn't sitting around waiting for the pager to go off. No way. They are involved in the entire process, from the very first meeting where people are just talking about ideas, all the way through design, development, and long-term maintenance. It's like building a house. You want the architect involved from day one to make sure the foundation is solid, so it doesn't just fall down a year later.
So, what does this architect versus firefighter thing look like day to day? What are their actual tasks? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. All right, first up, the architect work. This is all the foundational stuff. We're talking about taking an idea, a logical model, and turning it into a real physical database that actually stores stuff. They're designing it for speed right from the get-go, and this part is absolutely critical. They're the ones creating the backup and recovery plans. You know, the emergency plans that the firefighter's going to need when things inevitably go wrong.
And then you have the other side of the coin, protecting and maintaining. This is really where the 2 roles start to blend together. They're constantly monitoring performance, tuning things to make them faster, managing who gets access to what, basically keeping the lights on. It's like being a race car mechanic. You're tuning the engine while it's speeding down the track to prevent a breakdown, but you're also the first person over the wall if the car crashes.
Now, you might think a DBA is a DBA, but it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of job. Not at all. The field is actually way more diverse than you'd think, with a whole bunch of different specializations.
So let's look at a couple of the big ones. You've got your system DBA. This person is looking at the whole forest. They care about the physical hardware, the operating system, the network, the whole IT infrastructure. Then you've got the application DBA. They're laser-focused on a single tree. They become a deep, deep expert on one specific application, tuning it and tweaking it to get every last ounce of performance out of it.
And it doesn't stop there. The specializations get even more specific. You have folks who are pure architects. All they do is design new systems. Then there are the performance analysts. These are the superstars, the elite tuners who live to make things faster. And you even have DBAs who specialize in these gigantic data warehouses, these massive collections of information that companies use to make huge business decisions.
Okay, so we've seen what they do, and we know there are all these different types. But let's get down to it. Why does this role matter so much, especially right now?
You know, the answer is actually pretty simple. Our entire world runs on data. I mean, everything. Your bank, your social media, the healthcare system. It's all powered by data. Data is the new oil. It's the fuel. And that makes the DBA, the person guarding that fuel, one of the most essential, most fundamental jobs in the entire tech industry.
And you don't have to take my word for it. The value of this role is written right here in the numbers. Check this out. That's the average salary for a DBA in the US. Over $95,000. And that's not just some random number, right? It's a direct reflection of the insane level of skill this job requires and the massive responsibility that comes with, holding the keys to a company's most important asset.
So that's what's happening now. But what about the future? Is this job going away? Is it still a good career? Oh, absolutely. And this next number really tells the whole story.
20%. That is the projected job growth for DBAs. That's not just good, that is way faster than the average for all other jobs. It just shows you how much demand there is for these skills. And with the explosion of things like the cloud, AI, and big data, trust me, that demand is not slowing down anytime soon. It's only speeding up.
So let's leave it with this thought. We're diving headfirst into an age of AI and just unbelievable amounts of data. In this world, the need for these guardians, these architects and firefighters of information, it's not just important, it's more critical than ever before. So the real question is, are we ready? Are our companies giving these folks the tools, the support, and frankly, the respect they need to protect our most valuable asset?